So the weekend is free, the weather is absolutely perfect, and I'm looking for adventure. But where to go? I mean, Scotland's the best place to ride in the UK, but is one weekend enough time to justify all those motorway miles? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Okay, so technically I came up here on a Friday, but before you call me a cheat, anything after clocking off time is weekend in my book. The price you pay to enter Scotland is calculated in hours sat on the motorway, which for me was about 4.5 of them. But I reckon it's better to settle that bill tonight and wake up tomorrow with a clean slate. To be honest, the trip up wasn't that bad. I had a good audio book for company. And there's a real welcome to Scotland waiting for you when you get to Loch Lomond, a caffeine shot of a road, the A83, which launches you over the hills to tonight's base camp here in INVERARAY. All before sunset too. Okay, first things first, just check the bike's still there. Okay, all clear. This is Loch Fyne Hotel and Spa. An early-ish start, 8 bells, a lot of riding to do today. I've spent a bit of time in my route, pulling and prodding a route together, so I'm pretty confident the route for today is all killer, no filler. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description where you can download the GPX file for yourself. For free, of course. All I ask is if you'd hit like and subscribe. Anyway, this is the town of Inverary on the banks of Loch Fyne. The historic heart of Argyll, seat of the Campbell clan, and a thoroughly good place to stop and visit. This is the route I've planned for today. The next place on mine and probably everyone else's itinerary is Glencoe. But before that, there's a hidden wee gem of a road that I want to show you. This is the Orchy River, and this is the B8074, the slow way of connecting up to the A82, and the first single track road of the trip. The detour follows along the course of the Orchy, which when I was looking around on Street View looked a lot deeper. It's currently May 2025 and the whole of the UK is uncharacteristically baking hot. Apparently it's the driest start for a year for over 50 years, which is great for riding, not for farmers though, or the kayakers. They're the real victims. Yeah, this is usually a pretty wild stretch of river. Maybe a great spec for a wild camp. No tents for me on this trip though. It's more expensive to stay in hotels. A 2-night trip isn't too bad, but if you're away for a week or two, the costs quickly mount up. But there's so much less stuff to haul about. Tent, sleeping bag, stove, camping chair. It all adds weight to your bike, and then there's the faffing around time too. In hotels you just take the bags out of the panniers and you're done. But yeah, that's the B8074. It's only about 10 miles long, and a welcome break from the wider, more open A roads, which we're going to be on for quite some time now. So it's back on the A82 and on up to Glencoe, where the road signs welcome you to the Scottish Highlands, as does the scenery, which starts to change and gets noticeably bigger. This is one of Scotland's most famous roads. The view, of course, brings in the tourists. Most of the kids are still at school, so it's not actually that bad yet. I reckon May or maybe September might be the best time to visit here. You still get the long summer days, but traffic and midges are out of peak season. And the midges, especially around the Western Highlands here, can be an absolute nightmare. Trust me, they're no joke. Here's the 3 sisters of Glencoe, and there's Jimmy Savile's house. Yeah, no one's moved in yet, I see. I mean, it's a great location, to be fair, but I don't know how I'd feel about living there and wondering about what might have gone on. Anyway, let's not let that degenerate take the shine off this amazing place. Whenever my fuel's below halfway, I'm just taking every opportunity to fuel up. You never quite know when the next fuel stop's going to be. Right, a bit of history here at this crossroad. That's the site of the massacre of Glencoe. So Robert Campbell, of the Clan Campbell, he hailed from Inverarray, where we started today. He was being hosted here by the MacDonald clan of Glencoe. No, not those MacDonalds. One icy dawn in 1692, after staying here for 2 weeks, Robert Campbell received the order, and he led 120 government troops and unleashed a savage massacre, slaughtering 38 MacDonalds, including the chief, men, women and children. Never trust a Campbell. Next up is a stretch on the A82 up through Fort William, past Ben Nevis and on up to Inverarray. It's quite built up around Fort William. It's scenic but busy and slow going. So grab the opportunity in Glencoe. Don't just head out on the A82 over the bridge, but go around the road that takes you round Loch Leven. It's not as direct, but trust me, you'll have more fun. Once you get up to Inverarray, you get off the A82 and onto the A87, where the riding picks up again. It's a magnificent road that hugs the banks of Lochs Cluane and Loch Duich. If you follow the 87 all the way to the end, you'll reach the Isle of Skye. Sadly, that's one of the many places that I don't have time for this weekend. Next time though. Anyway, back on the A87, not long after you pass the Highlander Castle, otherwise known as the Eilean Castle, you turn up onto the A890, where you'll find the turn-off for Scotland's most dangerous road. This is Applecross Pass, also known as Bealach na Bar. It's the third highest mountain pass and the steepest road climb in Scotland, with gradients in places of 20%. It's an 11.5 mile single track road that was built in 1822. Initially as a drover's road, as in a road to transport cattle over, and this shows you what 200 years of inflation looks like, but back then it cost £4,000 to build. Bargain, eh? I'll put out a full unedited run of the pass on my second channel, Dispatches from Elsewhere, videos of a route with no talking, just scenery and vibes. Links in the description. These single track roads have a distinctly Scottish feel to them. They also have got a feel of a circuit or a track, maybe because there's just a narrow strip of tarmac weaving its way straight up a mountain. But there's nothing much in terms of street furniture, no pavements, not many road signs, no lampposts. One thing that defines them is the passing places. There's plenty of them, but naturally they are bottlenecks. So you can run into gridlock if the traffic gets too busy, or you get someone who just won't play the game.
I should pull over. There's a load of traffic behind you. Okay, suit yourself. Punch.
But most people know how to play the game, and you can usually see well ahead of you and plan your stops. And also I'm finding that most vehicles are usually pretty obliging to motorbikes, which of course being the best mode of transport can squeeze past and just crack on. And considering this is part of the famous North Coast 500 route, it's not actually too busy today. But yeah, this is pretty much a tourist road these days, with all kinds of vehicles coming to see just how steep and challenging it is. So I guess we should find out just how steep and challenging it is. Right, so there's two switchbacks really that could catch you out, especially if you tried or you were forced to cut the inside of the corner. Tight angles, steep gradients, not an ideal mix, but you'll be fine if you can take them nice and wide, and of course it's wise to look ahead for any oncoming traffic before you commit to the corner. I'm doing this in a clockwise direction, heading down into Applecross, which is definitely the steeper and more difficult way to climb up. But yeah, whichever way you take it, just go wide and steady and you'll be fine. Nowadays, Applecross just refers to the town, but this whole peninsula used to be known as Applecross. It's always been an isolated place. Before this pass was built, you'd have to get here by sea. You'd have to be a pretty hardy character to thrive here, I reckon. I noticed a lot of riders just get to the top here and then turn back around. But we're heading down into the town of Applecross. This guy here in the camper van, really trying hard to ruin my day, stubbornly refusing time and again to move over and just let me past. To be fair, for a camper van, he is hauling. His suspension keeps bottoming out. But look, we're playing different games, and I thought anyone with a Santa Cruz mountain bike would understand that, but camper vans there. As I say, I'll put a full run of the pass and the trip round the peninsula on my second channel, Dispatches from Elsewhere, so have a gander at that if you want to see the route without the chit chat. And again, if you can help me justify the time and effort I put into these videos by hitting like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. So at the end of the pass is the charming town of Applecross. Back in the 7th century, when this place was unfathomably remote, there was a monk, Malruba, who would later become a saint, who arrived from Ireland to found a monastery here. That monastic community grew to become Applecross, a sanctuary from where the gospel was spread to the Picts and the Gaels. The monastery thrived here for about 120 years before being sacked by the Vikings. Sadly, there's nothing left of the original monastery now, but the church here stands on the monastery's original site. And it really does feel like a sanctuary even today, but it's a great place to stop, get off the bike and explore a while. I can recommend the walled garden here as a good place to grab a bite to eat and sink an iron brew, but tally not, you can't hang about if you want to see Scotland in a weekend. This coastal road round the peninsula was laid in 1975 and boy, it's a thing of beauty. As I said, before these roads were built, to get here you'd have to sail here. They've had the Applecross Pass for 200 years and they've had access round the peninsula for 50 years, but despite the road opening access to the place, it hasn't helped stem the tide when it comes to population decline. In 1850 there was about 3,000 people living here. Now it's less than 300. Yeah, it's a lot quieter here compared to the pass. When I was poking around on Google Street View, the segments I looked at, to be honest, didn't look all that good. I must have just picked the wrong bits though, because this whole section was one of the highlights of the entire trip. The track sweeps up and down, following the coast all the way around the peninsula, and it's got a very fair 60-mile-an-hour limit. It's a lot of fun, fast, flowing and scenic. It's always good riding by water, isn't it? Especially when the sun's out. And the fun doesn't stop when eventually you head inland. The most notable example of which is the A896, an absolute banger of a road. It follows the course of the River Torrington through a lush mountain valley and under the shadow of Benaiga. What a road, and what a day. I can't imagine these roads would even get built these days. A winding strip of tarmac through the middle of prime wilderness. What would Greta say?
How dare you?
Well, I for one, am glad they did build it. But all good things must come to an end, and the A86 ends in the town of Cairngorms. I had planned to turn left here and head west around the peninsula up and over to Ullapool, but I think I'll save myself an hour and a half and just go straight to the hotel. There's a big part of me that would like to carry on. There's plenty of light still to go at, but even going directly to the hotel, it's going to be almost a 12-hour day. So it's east to Inverness to end off one of the best days of riding of my life. Good morning from the Muth and Newton Hotel. Not bad, plenty of bikers here. It's in Nairn, which is just east of Inverness. So today it's south all the way home, avoiding the motorways as much as possible, of course, at least till England. But let's not write an obituary for the trip just yet. We've still plenty more tarmac to ride, starting with the A939, an old military road that handily starts out in Nairn. And here we are, 10 minutes after leaving the hotel, straight out into the good stuff. This whole stretch of road, which goes on for 60 miles, was built following the Jacobite uprising in 1745. It was made to help the military traverse the Highlands. The Jacobites, of course, were supporters of the exiled Stuart king, seeking to overthrow the British government and restore a Catholic monarchy. And the whole of the Highlands were a real Jacobite stronghold. It was from round here where they launched their rebellions. The road was built not by the Jacobites, but by their opponents, the Hanoverians, who marched the troops up over this road to suppress the rebellion and maintain control over the Highlands. And then later, in the 18th and 19th centuries, this road was also used by whiskey smugglers trying to evade the Hanoverian taxmen. Basically, these roads have always been about speeding people up, not being one to dishonour the past. Better get a move on. Thankfully, the taxmen still haven't put up speed cameras, and long may that last. I guess a screaming motorcycle meant I didn't see much of the Cairngorms wildlife. There's golden eagles and even the UK's only herd of reindeer here, which were reintroduced to the area back in the 50s. This whole stretch, it's just an incredible riding road, and being one of the highest public roads in the UK and running through one of the country's last wildernesses, it can't really fail to be spectacular. It's not like it's a particularly difficult road, it's nice and wide with great visibility. Oh, and we need to talk about the way it flows. Whenever you're riding through a landscape like this, you're always walking a tightrope, whether you concentrate on the view or the road. The answer to that is usually dictated by how technical or demanding the road is at any one time. But the road here has got this brilliant mix where you get these long, gentle curves and straights where you can take in all the views, and then it mixes it up and throws you some fast curves and these ridiculous rolls that have me jumping right out of my seat and giggling like a school kid. As you get to the end of the A939, you'll notice that the Highland mountains have turned into rolling hills and the deeper greens have returned. The forests that greet you keep you company all the way down to Balmoral, where it's a pleasant run past castle after castle all the way down to Perth and to the border, which apart from a quick stretch on the M90 from Perth to Edinburgh was very pleasant indeed, but the headlines are already written. You can see the route on the map here, which remember you can download for yourself via the link in the description. So, can you do Scotland in one weekend? Well, yeah, clearly you can. But let's look at these riding times. In the end, I rode for 5 hours on Friday night. I was out for 11.5 hours on Saturday and about 9 hours on Sunday. That's including stops for fuel and food. But now personally, I quite like a long day in the saddle, especially when the riding's so good, but I don't know, is that too long for you? If I was doing the route again with unlimited time, I would add another night, to be honest. But then if I did that, I would have turned left at Kinlochewe and headed up round Ullapool. And then I guess if I did that, I'd probably want to head north up to Durness right on the top coast. But really you can fill your day no matter how long you stay, can't you? So yes, fitting it all in one weekend, it is ambitious, but it's doable. And it's hard to beat the amount of good riding you can squeeze into just one weekend. Scotland, I'll see you again soon. Hopefully next time I'll spend a whole week bimbling around here. So let me know in the comments section below which other roads I should ride. Thanks for watching. Till next time.